Hi everyone. Well, it's a new year, 2021, and a time to maybe really hold on to the hope that the world can get a grip on coronavirus this year and we can start to get our lives back to normal. But also, I quite like to use a new year as a mark of a new time to review and think about things that I want to work towards and look at achieving over this year ahead. So I've been spending a bit of time reviewing my artwork and looking at what I've done over this last year, the sort of techniques I like using when I'm painting, the sort of subjects that I've really enjoyed painting, and looking at how I might want to work on that for this year ahead. And looking actually at each painting with a more critical eye around how well I managed to depict certain things such as the light or the shape of the land or my use of colour, looking at particularly the tonal depth that I've managed to get into the paintings. And I've learned a lot from doing that, and it's helped me to start and address and identify the things that I want to work on over this next year. So at the start of this new year, I would urge you to maybe do something similar, to have a look at some of your own paintings from the previous year. Look at the tonal balance in the paintings. Have you managed to get good contrast where you want the focal points to be? Maybe you want to look at how you can get stronger tones within your painting and balance those with the lighter highlight areas. Maybe you might want to review the colours that you've used and the type of colour palette that you work with. You might want to try a different colour palette, or maybe explore how you can bring in some other colours that you haven't been using very much, because we do tend to get into habits where we always use the same things all the time. And the little bit of work that I've done on it, I found it really interesting, even though I've tried some things and thought, no, I don't want to use those, but just the exercise has helped me to think what I do and don't like. You might also want to think about these sort of subjects you like to paint. Is there something that you'd like to focus on a little bit more over this next year? If you're reviewing what you painted last year, you might discover that there's a certain subject or topic that actually you found far more interesting than you realised, and that you want to work on that a lot more over this next year. This painting that I started fairly recently is a really good example of the sort of thing that I mean, where I quite like a lot of the overall composition of the painting, but it's lacking some depth and giving you that illusion of being on a hillside looking down into the valley and into the distance. It's a scene from a walk where we went up onto Ilkley Moor, and I really liked this image of standing on the tops amongst the rocks and looking through this gap down into the valley below. So I started out plotting out the composition, and this is the stage I've got so far with the first layer or so of oils. And I've scratched in a lot of detail with a palette knife, which I often do part way through, just to help me think a bit more about some of the shapes and some of the detail that I want in it. Some of those scratch marks will get covered over again later on, but it just helps to start and give that bit of detail, and some of it will peek through with layers I add on later on. But having got so far, what I'm feeling is it's all looking a bit flat. Whilst I might like the composition of it, I haven't quite got that illusion of depth in the painting where you're looking through that gap into, and this is a drop in the valley below, so I need to somehow get it looking like it is below the scene and a little bit more into the distance by pushing this back a little bit more. So one of the things I do regularly when I'm painting is take a photo of the painting with my phone and change the image to a grayscale, so I can start to see much clearer the issues about the tonal values within the painting. Sometimes I think we get a bit distracted with the colour I know I certainly do. So putting it into a grayscale image allows me to review it and to think about where I haven't actually got the tonal balance quite right. So what I can see I need to address now is, although I'm really liking the composition here of being on the hillside amongst the rocks and looking through a gap down into the valley below, it's got some nice warm colours and that's really making it come forwards, but it's lacking in some tonal interest. The next thing after that I want to work on is this illusion of you're standing on the hillside here, looking through this gap down into the valley below. And at the moment, this mid-ground here, it's coming forwards too much. It's not giving that impression of looking down into the valley and starting to look down into the distance. So I want to see if I can work on that and get that a little bit better here. It might be something about the tonal values between this and the foreground, but it also might be the colour. I need to just push back the colour a little bit, cool it down and find a way of just pushing it back. And then what I might also do is just take these far distant hills back again a little bit further by lightening them and cooling them off just a little bit and dealing a little bit with the sky there. This is the finished painting, which just suddenly came together as I started to work on it. You can see how I've used a light bluey grey in the background and in the midground just to push it back a little bit and to knock out some of the detail so that it doesn't become so obvious, but leaving a little bit of a glow on the hillside because of the light coming from the right side of the picture, and then working much more on the detail in the foreground and the tonal changes in the foreground has really helped to bring out the definition of the shapes and the textures there. So I'm really pleased with it, and I think I'm going to call this done. So what I'm hoping from this short video, where I've shared just a little bit about what I've been doing over the last few months in reviewing my work, thinking about what I've done and exploring and researching a little bit more about what I want to work on in developing my skills, is that it'll inspire you to do something similar. And from that you'll really start to feel geared up for the year ahead and start making some really good plans for the things that you want to work on and develop and continue to strengthen in your work. So that's all for this week. I'm hoping that the few weeks ahead we've got some really interesting videos for you. It's a little bit difficult for me at the moment to be specific about what's going to happen when, because we've still got the COVID situation. But at the end of January, we have purchased on your behalf an open viewing of one of Paul Talbot Greaves' videos that focuses particularly on painting stone walls. So you'll have the opportunity to view that video over 5 days, and you can view it as many times as you want and then have a go at painting some stone walls yourself. We're also going to look at opening some Zoom chat meetings where you can come and show some of the work that you've been doing, and we can have a chat and share some of our stories about that work. I've got a lady who's doing a video for us about developing an intuitive approach to your work, which again is something else that you might want to work on over this next year. So we do have lots of plans, and there's lots of good things that we can do to keep each other inspired and moving forwards into 2021. So see you all again soon, and keep painting. Bye for now.